champions, I hope that you are doing wonderful, and I welcome you all to solve top 30 questions from the chapter that is human reproduction, and this is for people who have opted for biology and they are going to appear for KCET 2025, my dear children. So life is going to be really easy, so definitely do not forget to solve these questions. And one thing, as I always say, before I start to solve a question, I want you to pause the video and try it for yourself. That will be the best deal, okay? And you let me know in the live session, wherever there is the live chat or in the comment section, what is the answer for this question. I would be really happy seeing your participation, okay? So let's get started. The first question, with reference to human sperm, match list 1 with list 2. So head, acrosome, middle piece and tail. I hope you know the structure. So basically it looks somewhat like this, where this region is the head region and on the top of it there is something like this which is known as acrosome. This is what? Head region, where your nucleus and everything is there, and then you have a neck region like this, then you have a middle piece like this, and the middle piece has strands of mitochondria, my dear children, okay? And then it ends with a tail, and your whole sperm is actually covered by something which is known as plasmamembrane, okay? So this region that you see, it is the middle piece. This region becomes the tail, this is the neck, and the acrosome that you see is filled with enzymes which are known as sperm lysins. What do you mean by lysins? Lysins are the one which would be lysing something, which will be breaking open something. So basically, with the help of the acrosomal head that it is having, okay, or the acrosome it is having, what the sperm is going to do is that it is going to penetrate within the membranes of the egg so that the fertilization can actually take place, okay? And the mitochondria is basically present over here in the middle piece, my dear children. This area is very much rich in mitochondria. And what does the mitochondria help in with? It provides energy for the movement of what, children? For the movement of tail. Cool? Now I think you can solve it. So head, what does it contain? It contains haploid nucleus. Haploid as in half the number of chromosomes are there in this particular nucleus, because the other half is contained within the egg. The half and the half comes together and forms diploid zygote. So haploid sperm, haploid egg comes together to form diploid zygote. So it has to be haploid. So head goes with this. Acrosome, you know, it is filled with what, children? Enzymes which are known as sperm lysins. Okay. Middle piece contains mitochondria, and the tail helps in sperm motility, helps in the movement which is known as motility. So 1 goes with S, 1 goes with S. So I can avoid these two, eliminate these two. Okay, so 1 goes with S and 2 goes with P, children. So 2 goes with P, and here you got your answer. 3 goes with Q and 4 goes with R. So this becomes the correct answer for the question. Works? Next question. So in the female reproductive system, a tiny finger-like structure which lies at the upper junction of 2 labia minora above the urethral opening is known as. So if you are someone who is not knowing about what is labia minora, labia majora and things like that, let me tell you. So basically, no, the opening of the uterus is kind of a very important place, and it should be protected in all sort, because you know it's a reproductive tract, women can get infections through it, so it has to be protected really well, okay? So what do you have? You have a fatty tissue layer, okay? A pair of them, a pair of folds are there which you call as labia majora, okay? What do you call it? Labia majora. Please remember, it's a very, it's a very thick fold of tissue that you are having, okay? Now within the labia majora you would be having one more fold which is also paired, and this one will be known as labia minora, okay? And in the labia minora, towards this particular lower region, you will be finding the vaginal opening, and the vagina will be opening into what? The uterus and everything. So vaginal opening is there, okay? And over here you will be finding the urethral opening, or basically the urethra over here, okay? Now I told you that this is labia minora, these fold that you see over here. It's a paired fold, my dear children. Above it, there is the female erectile tissue. So females during intercourse, just like how males have penis, which is an erectile tissue, similarly females also have an erectile tissue, which is known as clitoris. So children, it is above labia minora, it is above the urethral opening, agree? And this is what it is known as clitoris. Now I'll tell you one more thing. There is a cushiony fold of tissue over here also, which has hair and everything, and you call this as what? Mons pubis. So this is the external genitalia of female. In total, this is the external genitalia of female. Now, in the female reproductive system, a tiny finger-like structure which lies at the upper junction of the two labia minora above the urethral opening will be known as what, children? Clitoris. This came in 2023. Works? I hope you got the answer. Cool. Next question. The male sex accessory ducts include, so accessory ducts will be what? So basically you have one primary sex organ, which would be the testis in the case of males, because it is a place where you form the sperms, right? Now there should be someone who could be carrying the sperm, and those comes under the category of accessory ducts. Those are the ones which will be carrying the sperm. Now there are accessory glands which give out the secretions to their sperm. Okay, and then there is external genitalia which will finally take out the sperm and put it in the female reproductive tract. Okay, so accessory ducts are the one which is going to provide a roadway. Okay, a way for the things to get transported. What things, children? Your sperm. Okay, now over here you have rete testis, vasa efferentia, epididymis, vas deferens. We have to find which is the correct option. So I will tell you one very important thing. So suppose this is the testis. So testis, you know, it has so many testicular lobules, and inside the testicular lobules, what do you have? You have seminiferous tubules. Okay, seminiferous tubules is where the sperms are being formed. Okay, now the seminiferous tubules will be opening over here, will be coming out of this, and this is known as tubuli recti. Tubuli recti. This is actually the first duct to carry, but in your book it is not written, so we don't need to learn it, but just understand. Now the tubuli recti will be coming together to form a meshy structure like this. Okay, which is also acting as a duct, and this is known as rete testis. Okay, rete testis says now everything is happening in the testis, right? Now the sperms want to actually move out of the testis. For that, they need something. They need another duct. Okay, another accessory ducts which will finally help the sperm to move out, and this duct is known as vasa efferentia. What do you call it? Vasa efferentia. E for exit. You can remember like that. And the vasa efferentia, basically finally they will be opening into a very coiled duct. Coiled structure over here, which is almost 6 meters long if you open it. Okay, and this coiled structure that you see over here, it is known as epididymis. Okay, it is known as epididymis. Remember, the sperm is going around over here. Now the epididymis will be opening into something like this, and this particular strand that you see over here, it is known as vas deferens. Finally, the sperm is being carried to the top. Everything was happening over here in the testis. And where is the testis located, children? Outside the abdominal cavity, outside the human body. So now things are going to get inside the human body. Okay? Inside the human body, that is not human body exactly, basically the abdominal cavity, and that is done with the help of vas deferens. So all these guys that you see over here, they are basically helping in the transport of the sperms, and they are all coming under this category of accessory ducts. So first is this guy, second comes this guy, then comes this guy, then comes this guy, and then comes this guy. So let's see the answer. So rete testis, vasa efferentia, rete testis, then vasa efferentia, then epididymis, then vas deferens. It is correct. But let's see the other options also. Rete testis, vasa efferentia, epididymis, and seminal vesicle. No, children. Seminal vesicle is not accessory duct. It's a gland that releases something, that gives out a secretion. Okay, so it's a gland. Now rete testis, urethra. No, urethra is a passageway for the urine and the sperm to pass. So it is not a duct which carries just the sperm. No. It is a common passage that comes from urinary bladder, Okay, it is for urine and the sperm to move around. So that is not, it comes under external genitalia. Okay, now next thing, rete testis, vasa efferentia, seminal vesicle, again seminal vesicle is there, we cannot count it there. So your answer becomes this particular thing. Okay, this came in 2023. Next, from the following table, select the option that correctly characterizes various phases of menstrual cycle. So there are 3 phases: menstrual phase, follicular phase and luteal phase. Okay, I'll be just giving you a hint about all these things. Okay, so what happens in menstrual phase is that the endometrium, basically it is being broken down, it is shut down. Okay, you call this as menses. You will be calling this as what, children? Menses. Okay, and slowly the follicles are also regenerating over here. The next follicle which should be giving out the next secondary oocyte, that will be forming around. So over here, but it is just in the initial stage of it. The next phase that you get is known as follicular phase, where the follicles which were developing over here develops more better over here, and also the endometrium which shut it down, it has also started forming again. It will also start forming again. Now at the end of the follicular phase, children, at over here, what happens is that one particular follicle under the effect of a hormone that is known as luteinizing hormone, what happens is that follicle will be bursting open and hence would be releasing the secondary oocyte. And this process that is happening is known as LH surge, because you know, LH surge as in luteinizing hormone is increasing way too much, such that you will be finding ovulation happening over here. So this breaking open a follicle and release of secondary oocyte, what do you call it? You call this ovulation, and this happens at the end of the follicular phase. Okay, that is LH surge. Fine, I won't say it is exactly in this phase, but at the end of the phase this is happening. Now in the next phase, secondary oocyte is there. The secondary oocyte is there, that means the sperm can come and fertilize it. If suppose fertilization has happened, then what will happen, children? Then you have to maintain the endometrium, because endometrium will be the layer that will be providing nourishment. So the next phase, which is also known as luteal phase, my dear children, I'll write it here. It is known as luteal phase. What will be happening? The endometrium will be regenerating very much. The endometrium regenerates. Okay, now what will happen? The endometrium regenerates, and also one more thing happens. I'll tell you that the follicles, it broke open, gave the secondary oocyte, you will be left back with something, and that something which is left back is known as corpus luteum. So this follicle which was breaking open, the mature follicle, you call it as Graafian follicle. What do you call it? You call it as Graafian follicle. This follicle undergoes ovulation and gives out secondary oocyte, but whatever remaining content is there of this particular follicle, you call this as corpus luteum, and this corpus luteum will be releasing certain hormones, which is why the endometrium will keep on regenerating itself. So what is this hormone that is being released? One is your estrogen, and the main guy who plays a major role over here is progesterone. So progesterone is the one that will be maintaining the endometrium. It will be helping in the regeneration of endometrium. Now this will happen for certain days, but after some point of time the body realizes that no fertilization has taken place. What does it realize? No fertilization has taken place. At this point of time, what will happen, children? The corpus luteum which is there, it will slowly degenerate. Okay, if corpus luteum is degenerating, progesterone, everything goes down, and hence again what will happen? Again this endometrium layer will be shut down, which is known as menstrual phase. So you are repeating each phases again and again. So as first you have menstrual phase, then you have follicular phase, then you have luteal phase happening over here. Got it? Now let's try to answer. So menstruation phase is where regeneration of endometrium occurs. It's when menstruation occurs, that is menses occurs. So menses, this is correct. So we can eliminate these two guys. Okay, and we can go for these two options. We can see which one is correct. In the follicular phase, developing corpus luteum is there? No, children. In the follicular phase, you have the developing follicles. Okay, you have developing follicles. So this is again something that is wrong. This is something that is wrong. In the follicular phase, you have the Graafian follicle maturing. In the luteal phase, you have the corpus luteum, which is the remnant of what? Graafian follicle. So this is wrong. So this obviously becomes wrong. So we are not considering that. Okay. This whole statement again becomes wrong. What we are left with? We are left with this. Let's see if it's correct or not. Menses is happening over here. In the follicular phase, actually at the end of it, you have LH surge. And in the luteal phase that you are having, the regeneration of endometrium occurs. Okay, the regeneration of endometrium occurs. Now, luteal phase is also known as secretory phase. It is also known as secretory phase. Why, children? Because as the endometrium matures, basically it is regenerated, not matures. When it regenerates, what happens is that this under the effect of progesterone enzymes, there will be other things also being secreted over here, such as glycogen, which will be providing the energy source later on. So there are so many secretions happening over here, which is why it is known as secretory phase. Can you tell me the other name of follicular phase? Is there someone who can tell me the other name of follicular phase? If you know, comment down. That question number 4, the question that ma'am asked, the answer for that is this. Okay, this came in 2023, my dear children, and I wish you I hope that you understood the question, right? Going ahead with the next question. The testes are situated outside the abdominal cavity in scrotum as it helps to why? What does it help with? So basically, suppose this is a human being, and this is the leg region. This is where the heart resides. So what do you call this? This region is the thoracic cavity, children. This is the thoracic cavity. So my heart, your heart, everyone's heart is in the thoracic cavity. Just below it, region from here to here, what do you call it? You call it abdominal cavity. Abdominal cavity, where you have your stomach and everything. Okay. So the place where the diaphragm ends, that's where the thoracic cavity ends, and that's where the abdominal cavity starts. Now, over here, this region, this region is usually subdivided into pelvic region. You call this region as pelvic region. So you have the whole right to say that this is abdominopelvic region. It comes under abdominal cavity only. Now, the male scrotum is located outside the abdominal cavity. Why so? Because if it stays inside, the temperature that you see is quite high. But for the formation of sperms, okay, for which you have testis. Okay, testis is responsible for the formation of sperm, right? It needs almost 2 to 2.5 degrees Celsius lesser or lower than the normal body temperature. Then only things can happen. So it maintains the low temperature. This becomes the answer. 2023 question. So testes are situated outside the abdominal cavity in the scrotum as it helps to maintain the low temperature. So to hold testes like that, that's why we have a sac-like structure which is known as scrotum. So inside that the testis lays. Works? Next question. Identify the odd one from the following. Infundibulum, fimbriae, isthmus, labia minora. Infundibulum, fimbriae, isthmus, what are those things? What are those things? So basically, I hope that you know the female reproductive system. Yeah, champions. Okay. So basically, it looks something like this, where I'm not making the other area. Okay, I'm not making the other side of it. So this is your ovary, where the ovum is being released. Okay. Or basically secondary oocyte is being released. Now there should be someone to collect it, and for that you have finger-like projections which you call as The finger-like projections you call them as fimbriae. Okay, fimbriae, you can remember like that. Okay. Now this fimbriae is a part of something which is known as infundibulum. So this becomes the first part actually. This is the first major part, and this major part has something which is known as fimbriae. Okay. So I'll write it first thing. Second thing that you have starts from here to here, and this is known as ampulla. This is a broad region, and this is known as ampulla, my dear children. Now, the third thing that we have over here is isthmus. This is a narrow region that we have over here. So this is where the ovum is being released, the ovum is being, or secondary oocyte is being released, it is collected and brought over here in the ampulla. Now the ovum will be waiting in the ampulla, Okay, I'm just saying ovum, just understand secondary oocyte only. Okay, it stays in the ampulla. When the sperm comes, it comes over here and fertilizes with it. Cool. So over here, infundibulum, ampulla, isthmus, all of these things, or fimbriae, all of this thing basically acts as a transport way, roadway. So what do you call those things that act as a roadway, children? You call them duct. So these are the accessory ducts or the accessory ducts of the female reproductive system. Just like how you had in male reproductive system, you also have in female reproductive system. What all are the parts? One is this particular region which you together all of them, you call it as what? Fallopian tube. Or what do you call it? You call it oviduct. Fallopian tube, or what do you call it? You call it oviduct. After oviduct, you have this region which is known as uterus. You have this region which is known as uterus. Now uterus, no, it also opens into something like this. Okay. Okay, so over here you have the cervix. And over here, this thing that you see is known as your vagina. Vagina has an opening which is known as vaginal opening. So all of them, they are acting as a roadway for everything to happen. So they all come under accessory ducts only. Okay, but labia minora, it does not come over here because I told you this becomes a part of external genitalia. So the vagina is surrounded by labia minora, labia majora and things like that. That becomes the part of external genitalia or external genital organ. Works? So this is the odd one out. 2022 question. Next, in which month of gestation the first movements of the fetus and appearance of hair on its head is observed? Direct question. Always remember. Okay, always remember. I'll tell you a story. So the first month, the baby's heart is formed. In the second month, the baby's limbs and the digits are being formed. Okay, so baby says that okay, but I actually want something else. I want to basically show off my hair and I want to show some movement, and that is granted. That is granted in the 5th month, my dear children. Okay, this thing that I said is granted in the 5th month. So in the 5th month, the baby will be like, I have hair and I'll be moving around and things like that happen. So 5th month is a lucky month for the baby because the movement of the fetus and the appearance of hair on its head is observed in that particular month. Works? Chalo. Next question is a direct question. Please remember 5th month is for this. 2022. We will be talking more about the months in the coming questions. I have a question for that. Don't worry. So which of the following hormones is not secreted by human placenta? So human placenta, no, it secretes 4 hormones, children. It secretes 4 hormones. What do you mean by placenta? Placenta is something that provides nourishment to the growing embryo, right? So basically, placenta is responsible for production of 4 hormones, which are this. One is this, that is human chorionic gonadotrophin. Okay, one is human chorionic gonadotrophin. Second is human placental lactogen. Okay. Third is progesterone, which is usually being released by ovary also, but now placenta is also releasing this. And then estrogen. So these are the 4 hormones that is exclusively released by the placenta. Please remember, any other hormone coming in this category would not be approved. Okay, so we have progesterone, we have HCG, we have FSH, we have relaxin. So basically FSH, I'll say it's not a direct hormone that is being produced by this thing, but still, okay, somehow it is related, somehow. Because of human chorionic gonadotropin, it is somehow related. FSH can be there. I won't say it's a correct option that is put over there. But the most unwanted option that you can see over here is this, that is relaxin. Okay. So relaxin is basically the one thing that is being produced by the ovary during pregnancy. During pregnancy only. During pregnancy, this particular relaxin is being released. Okay, so that parturition, everything can be made easy. So usually you have 4 hormones which are being produced. So I can convert this FSH to probably estrogen. That would be more correct. That would be more correct because FSH, no, it is produced by what? Pituitary gland. Okay, FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, is being produced by pituitary gland. So I'll say estrogen is the best option. Okay, keep it like that, and then you have relaxin, which is odd one out, that is coming from ovary. The 2022 question, the question might have been wrong, some other cases, but yeah, This is the answer. So relaxin is being released by ovary. So ovary is now relaxing because all of the work is being done by uterus as of now. You can think like that. Cool. Next question. In the given diagram of the human sperm, identify the functions of labeled part A, B and C. So I already told you. A, which is basically the acrosome. A here, it is nothing but the acrosome. B will be what? The middle piece. C will be what? The tail. So acrosome helps in what? Penetration of the sperm into the ovum. Middle piece will be helping in providing energy to what? The C part, which is the tail, which has sperm motility. So A helps in penetration of the sperm. This is correct. This is correct. B helps in movement of sperm. Is B helping in movement of the sperm directly? And C provides energy for the movement. C, does it provide energy? Is it opposite way? No. So this option is wrong. Next option. A helps in penetration of the sperm. Okay. B helps in providing energy for the movement of the sperm. Okay, it's correct. And C1 helps in the movement of the sperm. That is also correct. But let's see the other option. A helps in movement of the sperm. Wrong. A helps in providing energy for the movement of the sperm. Again, wrong. So what you are left with? You are left with this particular option, my dear. This becomes the correct option. This came in 2021. Okay. Let's go with the next question. Yes. Select the correct path of the flow of milk during breastfeeding. So I have a very, I don't know how effective it will be. So dal fell on mat. Dal fell on mat. You can remember like that, where here, okay, here you have mammary lobes. Mammary lobes, almost 15 to 20 of them, which will be opening into something that is known as alveoli, and alveoli will be opening into mammary tubules. Now tubules will be opening into mammary duct. Ducts will be opening into ampulla. Ampulla will be opening into lactiferous ducts. And finally, that's done. So this is the flow, children. Mammary lobes, then alveoli, then tubules, then ducts, then ampulla, then lactiferous ducts. So dal fell on mat. This is how you can remember. Okay. Now let's see which is the correct option. So you have mammary tubules, then mammary duct. Is it true, children? Mammary tubules, then mammary duct, tubules, then mammary duct, then ampulla, then lactiferous ducts, then alveoli. This becomes wrong because alveoli has to come first. Alveoli have to come first, then only things will be coming around, right? So mammary tubules, again mammary tubules, mammary ducts, again alveoli at the end. So I'll say this is wrong. Okay, now alveoli is in the beginning, so let's look for this. Okay, alveoli, then mammary tubules, okay, mammary ampulla, and then mammary duct. No, children, duct comes first. Dal, right? D comes first. So this is wrong again. Alveoli, mammary tubules, mammary duct, mammary ampulla, lactiferous ducts. This becomes the correct option. 2021 question. So I know it can be kind of, because everything starts with M, and over here mammary lobes has nothing to do with M. But for you, the first thing that comes, let's give M for that. So mammary lobes is the first thing. Alveoli is just in nothing but alveoli only. T for tubules, okay, and D for ducts. There is nothing, just omit the mammary over there. A for alveoli, ampulla, this is something that you have to remember, okay. A for ampulla and L for lactiferous duct. Now you can remember one thing, L for lactiferous duct and L for ampulla also. You can think in that way also. In either way, if it's of some help, please remember in this format. Okay, for me it is very helpful. For you also, if it is helpful, then kudos. And if you have some other things or tricks to remember this, you can tell me that also in the comment section, saying that question 10, ma'am, this could be the hint. Other children can also utilize this particular thing. Okay, next thing. Question number 11. Under the influence of oxytocin, which layer of the uterus exhibits strong contraction during parturition? So which layer will be the one that will be contracting and relaxing during parturition? What do you mean by parturition? Parturition means basically the expelling out of the baby or the fetus. Okay, the fully grown fetus would be moving out. Now, parturition happens because of contraction and relaxation of one very important layer that is there in the uterus. Which is that particular layer, children? Guesses. Okay, I might be seeing the comments later on, so I would be knowing who all answered. I will be really happy to see that. So over here, if this is the uterus, the first layer that comes is perimetrium. The outermost layer is what? Perimetrium. After the perimetrium comes the next layer which you have, which is known as myometrium. Then comes the innermost layer which provides nourishment and everything, which is known as endometrium. So here myometrium that you see, it is the layer which is the muscular layer. It is the muscular layer, and you know muscles are the one which will be contracting and relaxing. So it is myometrium which will be contracting and relaxing when there is a release of oxytocin hormone. And how do they actually do? Basically, they have receptors for oxytocin. This particular layer has receptors for oxytocin. So oxytocin will come bind over here, and whenever this binding happens, they will start contracting. Okay, and these receptors are not always present. It happens during the end of pregnancy, that is during the parturition. So I will say that myometrium is the answer for this. 2021 question, my dear children. Next question. Match the months listed in column 1 with the organogenesis of fetus in column 2, or basically formation of fetus. Okay, so the first month I told you, first month is basically for heart. Let's not skip it. Okay, let's not skip it. Now you already know 5th month is for what, children? I told you it's for this. So it is basically hair on the head. Now 2nd month is for what? Limbs and digits. So first month heart, then we have limbs and digits, and then the baby says that I want to move around. You cannot do this to me. So basically on the 5th month, the God finally grants that, okay, you can move around. So first movement and the hair on the head will be seen in the 5th month. Now in the 6th month, okay, after God granted the wish, then the baby won't have any option rather than to listen to God. Then the God now says, now you can see the world open. There will be separation of eyelids. Okay, it's not like actually seeing the world. So basically there will be separation of eyelids. There will be fine hair on the body, full body. So baby asked for hair on the head, but God gave on the full body for protection also. So basically 6th month is for that. 6th month will be separation of eyelids and everything. Okay, so children, let's see. A is for, 3. A is for 3, heart. So these are the wrong options. Let's eliminate it. Now B is for 4. B, is it for 4? Yes. So both of these options are correct. C, 5th month is for hair on the head. C is for 2. C is for 2. There is only one option with that. So this becomes the answer. Cool? Okay. Next question. When the fallopian tube is blocked at ampullary region, the ovum fails to move from what to what region? So when there is a block in the ampullary region, where was that question of the ampulla? Yeah, over here. So when there is a block over here in the ampullary region, the ovum will be failing to move from where to where? So this is infundibulum that comes first, then it comes isthmus. So isn't it infundibulum to isthmus? It won't be able to move from here to here since there is a block being created over here. Okay, so let's see what's the answer, or we have any other good options there. Okay, I hope we were over here. Infundibulum to isthmus is the first option that we are having, so we do not need to go search for any other options. 2020 question, my dear children. This chapter is really scoring and very easy for you to understand and score, so do not lose the opportunity to study this. Okay, next. Identify the cells represented as PQRS in the schematic representation of oogenesis shown below and choose the correct option. So I'll tell you one thing. If this is P, this is Q. Okay. Now you try to find out what is this P, what is this Q, what is this R, what is this S. I'll give you a hint. Okay. So every time meiosis happens, or basically mitosis happens, you get 2 cells, right? Here meiosis happens whenever you want to form the gametes. Meiosis has to happen because you have to halve the number of chromosomes. So these 2 cells which will be forming will be having half the number of chromosomes. Okay. It won't be equal cells like the other one. For example, if I divide this cell which has 46 number of chromosomes, when it divides, it should be dividing into 2 cells having half the number of chromosomes, that is 23. This is known as meiosis, and it does not end there. It will again divide, and this time it won't be halving itself, it will be 23 only. So this is one whole cycle of meiosis. We say this is one whole cycle of what, children? Meiosis. Cool. Mitosis means, for example, it was 46, then it will divide into 2 two of them which has 46. Khatam. There is no other cycle. So meiosis occurs in meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. Now in the gametes, meiosis has to occur. And I will tell you one thing. Over here, the cell which is being formed, okay, this is the main cell that is being formed over here as well. This cell has to divide into two. So one is this one and the other one is this one. Okay, one will be this, other one will be this. And whenever you see the name polar body, just understand that it is going to degenerate. It is not going to be there. It is not going to further divide into two. So this lineage stops. This altogether stops, my dear children. So whenever you see one polar body, so understand that this is a cell that has undergone meiosis, and this one, the first one, will be known as primary oocyte. What do you call it? Primary oocyte. So cell has divided, it has now formed the primary oocyte. The primary oocyte will again divide itself into two. So let's see. So this primary oocyte will again divide into two. One stays like that and the other one degenerates. One stays like that, the other one degenerates. So over here, one that will be staying will be this, and the other one that will be degenerating will be this. What you call this as second polar body. And what do you call this cell as, which has come from the division of this? If this is primary oocyte, then this one will be what? Secondary oocyte. So first polar body always with primary oocyte, second polar body will be always with secondary oocyte. Now this secondary oocyte, I will be calling it as later on, okay? Later on, after some time, I will be calling this particular secondary oocyte as ovum. Okay, it is not undergoing any division or anything like that. Okay, I would be calling it, there is some structural changes that happens, which is why I would be calling it a ovum later on. Okay, so this is secondary oocyte which later forms the ovum. So you know S, the final product has to be the ovum, which carries half the number of chromosomes. Okay, over here you have secondary oocyte, over here you have the primary oocyte. Now the one that will be undergoing all this process, okay, so we have fixed number of oogonia in our ovaries even from the time we are born. In the embryonic stage itself, in the embryonic stage when the ovary is being formed, we have fixed number of oogonia, 1 millions of them. Okay, what do you call them? Oogonia. This oogonia starts its division. First of all, it increases its number. Then there will be one specialized one which would be later undergoing meiosis, and it will get stuck in one particular stage, and that thing happens. I am not going to discuss everything over here, but just understand this oogonia, which later at some point of time divides, forms a specialized form of cell, which again divides and start the process of meiosis. From here you will start meiosis, my dear children, from this particular point. Okay, this is first meiosis where you get primary oocyte and first polar body. The first polar body degenerates. Then the primary oocyte will again divide into two. The other cell will again degenerate. This will survive and this will later form the ovum. So P is oogonia. Okay, and you have your Q. As primary oocyte, you have your R as secondary oocyte, and you have your S as ovum. So let's see, P oogonia, Q primary oocyte, R secondary oocyte, and S as ovum. So this becomes the correct answer. This came in 2020, my dear children. So if you have any confusion regarding the concepts behind this, okay, the entire concept, I have explained this in the NEET playlist. So you can go to the NEET playlist, just watch it in 2x speed. There's that particular area of what? Oogenesis. You would be able to understand it very, very clearly. Okay, so it is kind of similar for you and NEET people, just that they have more complicated questions, but the concept anyways lies to be the same, so you can make utilization of that as well. Okay, if I explain the concept over here, I think it will be too boring for you, too long for you, so I don't want to do that. I hope I am basically giving you tricks to remember. So first polar body always with primary oocyte, second polar body always with secondary oocyte. Secondary oocyte will be turning out into ovum. Okay, and the first guy which is there is known as oogonia. Next question. The nourishing cells in the seminiferous tubules are known as what? So seminiferous tubules, which I made initially, if you remember, this was the testis. In that you had testicular lobules, in which you had your seminiferous tubules, almost 1 to 2 are there. If I zoom this in, it looks like this. Okay, it has two type of cell. One that will be forming the sperms later on. So I will write gamete mother cell probably. Okay, the sperm mother cell which will be forming the sperms later on. It will be forming these sperms later on. And there will be another type of cells which would be right over here, which will provide nourishment to this, which will be providing nourishment for the formation of sperm, which is known as Sertoli cells. And since they provide nourishment, you also call them nurse cells. You know, the nurses are really good. They help the patients really well. Similarly, over here, this is the patient. They are going to help. Sertoli cells or nurse cells are there, which provides nourishment to these growing sperms. Okay, fine. Just outside the seminiferous tubules, you will be finding one more type of cell, which is known as Leydig cell. Leydig cell, which will be responsible for the production of the hormone testosterone, which is an androgen, and this testosterone is the one that will be helping in the formation of sperms. Without testosterone, you cannot help in the formation of sperms, and over here it needs nourishment also, that is provided by Sertoli cells. So please understand, outside the seminiferous tubule you have Leydig cells, okay, between this space which is known as interstitial space. This space that you see over here, this is known as interstitial space, where you have the Leydig cells. Inside you have Sertoli cells. The question is, the nourishing cells in the seminiferous tubules, it is what? Sertoli cells. 2019 question, my dear children. Works? Next question. If in a normal menstruating woman, menses occurs on 5th of April, what will be the expected date of ovulation? So basically children, I say the cycle of the menstrual cycle is basically of 28 days, and we say approximately on the 14th day ovulation occurs. Approximately on the 14th day ovulation occurs. Okay, now menstruation or menses was occurring on 5th April. Right, now you can calculate almost 14th day after it, because this is the start of a cycle, right? Menses has occurred. So first day of menses to 14th day, on the 14th day you will be finding ovulation happening, and the next 14th day again there will be blood flow, again there will be next cycle that will be coming around. You get it? So basically over here on the 14th day, so 5th April plus 14th day almost comes around 19th of April, things like that, but closer option is 18th of April that you are having. Actually you never calculate it like this, okay? You start from the back. Okay, you go to the back and calculate, you minus 14 days, and then you try to understand. That is the actual way of finding it, because from here to here the time period usually changes in females. Okay, it can be different for different females, but if you go the back side of it, the 14th day will be the day where ovulation would have happened. Works? So it is anyways 18th of April. So 14th day you have to calculate, and then you have to find out the closest option. Okay, 2019 question. Next question. Identify the cells representing P, Q, R and S in the given schematic representation of spermatogenesis. Chalo. Now this is spermatogenesis. So over here you have certain cells which you can clearly see, right? And over here I have your NCERT picture also. So these cells which are being formed over here, they are known as primary spermatocytes. Okay, and over here you will be having spermatogonia, which among them one will be specialized, which will be known as primary spermatocyte. This primary spermatocyte will be dividing into what? Primary always divides into secondary spermatocyte. Now what's the difference between the oogenesis and spermatogenesis? There, when the cell was dividing, it divided into 2, 23, 23. This was dividing into 2, 23, 23, 23, 23. But if you have noticed, it divided, one became polar body, so this lineage went, and one sustained, and then other became polar body and this only stayed. But over here you can see this is going to happen, this is also going to happen. So this primary spermatocyte will be dividing into 2 secondary spermatocyte. Okay, so at the end of oogenesis you get 1 ovum, but the end of spermatogenesis you will be getting 4 sperms. I will tell you how. Secondary spermatocyte will now again divide itself, and now you get something like this, which is known as spermatid. What is it, children? Spermatid, which are round in structure. They are not having the shape of the sperm and all. Okay, now the spermatid will be transforming into the last stage, which is known as spermatozoa, and this process is known as spermiogenesis. What do you call it? spermiogenesis. Whole thing is known as spermatogenesis, where you are starting with spermatogonia, just like how you are starting with oogonia. Similarly, you are starting with spermatogonia. Among them, few will be specialized, which will be known as primary oocyte. The primary spermatocyte, it will be dividing, undergoing meiosis. From here you start the meiosis. Okay, this is first stage of meiosis, this is second stage of meiosis. So primary spermatocyte divides into secondary spermatocyte, then secondary spermatocyte forms spermatids, but spermatids are like kids, they are not mature. Spermatids are like kids, they are not mature. To make it mature, you have to convert them into spermatozoa, and this process is known as spermiogenesis. Finally, the spermatozoa moves out of the seminiferous tubules. Everything is happening in the seminiferous tubules. We saw, right? In the seminiferous tubules only the sperms were forming. So after the sperms are actually being formed, spermatozoa is actually being formed, it has to move out. And what do you call that process as? You call that process as spermiation. Okay, like aviation. Okay, spermiation, it finally moves out. You can think like that. From the seminiferous tubules to the accessory ducts like tubuli recti, aerated testis and stuff like that. Okay, so over here we know what is this thing. Now you have to tell me what is the correct answer for this. I explained you, now you tell me. P will be what, children? Can it be spermatozoa? No, spermatozoa cannot be that. Next thing, P will be primary spermatocyte. Okay, fine. Q will be secondary spermatocyte. Okay, fine. R should be kids, so spermatids. S should be spermatozoa. So this is the correct option that we are having, my dear children. Do not have to go for the other options also. Primary spermatocyte, secondary spermatocyte, spermatids, spermatozoa. What do you call this process as? Spermiogenesis. What do you call when the sperms move out of the seminiferous tubules? Spermiation. What do you call this whole process as? Spermatogenesis. Okay, I know it's confusing, but if you go through it once or twice, you will be able to remember it. Cool. Next question. The process of conversion of non-motile spermatids into motile spermatozoa is called spermatids. I told you, like they are like kids, they are round, so you have to change their shape into having tail and everything, which is now they will be known as spermatozoa, and this process is known as spermiogenesis. Okay, this is a 2018 question. Next question. Several mammary ducts join to form wider structure called what? So ducts, dal. Okay, so this was ducts. Ducts will be forming, it should end with L. So ampulla, and this L is lactiferous ducts. So your answer should be, here the question is the several ducts open to form a wider structure which will be known as ampulla. So this becomes the answer. 2018 question again. Now 20th question. The signals for parturition process originates from, okay, the signal for parturition, that is finally the expellation of baby. Okay, the signal, where does it come from? From the baby itself, from the fully grown fetus, no? From the fully grown fetus as well as the placenta which is there, this particular signal comes. How? Basically, suppose this is the baby. Suppose this is the baby, my dear children. Okay, the baby, irrespective of its gender, will be releasing a hormone which is known as androgen, which is actually a male hormone. This androgen will be converting into estrogen in the uterus. Okay, converting into estrogen, and this estrogen is basically going to do something. This estrogen is going to make so many receptors on the myometrium really active. Now there will be so many receptors that will be now active over here in the myometrium. And what are these receptors, children? Oxytocin receptors. So oxytocin is usually being produced in the body, but now when the oxytocin which is actually made from a hypothalamus and later released with the help of pituitary, finally when this oxytocin comes and resides on this, it will lead to contraction. Okay, contraction, more and more contraction, which is why the baby will be moving out. Okay, so it comes from the fully developed fetus as well as the placenta, this signal for parturition. Okay, this is a 2018 question. It's a very important question as well. Cool. So androgen, then to estrogen. Estrogen makes so many oxytocin receptors over here, okay, and then what will happen? Oxytocin, which is usually being released, it will come and now find a place to bind also. They will bind, they will have contraction, and then the baby will be moving out. Cool? Next question. Which one of the following characters favors the process of normal spermatogenesis in human male? So, which one of this character would be helping in the formation of normal sperms, or basically will be helping in the formation of sperms in the case of human males? What is that process? That will be, somehow helping in this process. Descent of testis into the scrotum, will it help in any case? So, scrotum is over here, and the testis, which is basically there in the male body, is within the male body, will be slowly moving down over here into the scrotal sac. This is known as descent of testis. Do you think this will help in the process of spermatogenesis? Yes, because if it is not moving down, do you think the sperms would be formed over here? No. There is high temperature, and for the formation of sperm, you need what? 2 to 2.5 degrees Celsius lesser than the normal body temperature. So, this is very much important. So, this will be the answer, but let's see the other options also. Testes remain in the abdominal cavity? No, children, and it happens for many children, it happens, babies. So, what do? They have to undergo surgical operations, or there might be other processes, but if it does not happen, it's a very big problem, okay. Now, testes remain in the abdominal cavity, that is problem. Infection by mumps virus during, oh my god, no. Increased scrotal temperature, no. So, we do not have any option rather than to bring it down, which is descent of testis into the scrotum. This is a 2017 question. Next question. Accessory ducts of reproductive system of human female include, I told you, ducts, which means the ones that transport. So, there is oviduct, there is uterus, and there is vagina. Oviduct, which will be carrying things, uterus, and then vagina. That's all, nothing else, okay. So, oviduct, uterus, and vagina, they will be coming in this particular category. Oviduct, ovaries are the ones that makes the ovum, so they are not ducts. Oviduct, ovaries, no. Oviduct, uterus, ovaries, no, ovaries, it cannot be again the case. So, this becomes the answer. This is a 2017 question. You see how many questions are being asked around the same topic again and again, okay, which is why I said this particular chapter is very interesting and it will help you score really good marks. So, in human females, the number of primary follicles left in each ovary at puberty is, so what happens is that primary, I told you it starts with millions of cells, they undergo their division and things like that. So many cells they die off, okay, so many follicles. Basically, the primary oocyte which you just formed, remember, it is surrounded by certain cells which are known as granulosa cells, and together now you call this as primary follicle. So, you have so many primary follicle initially, but when you reach puberty, so many of them might have died. So, in each ovary, starting from millions, you would be just having 60,000 to 80,000 primary follicles. Just 60,000 to 80,000 primary follicles in each ovary. In them also, a lot of them will get degenerated during the entire process of forming what? Of forming the ovum. So, 60 to 80 is the thing left in each ovary, my dear children. Okay, what are these things? Primary follicles. Okay, primary follicles from that one. When we hit puberty, from that point onwards, primary follicle will be making secondary follicle, which will be having secondary oocyte and stuff like that, and then ovum will be produced each month. So, this process starts from puberty itself. Until then, you just have these many follicles remaining, and after that, after you hit puberty, so many of them die again. Okay, so that's a natural process that happens. Cool? Works? 2017 question. Next, implantation is influenced by. Implantation means what? Basically, the embryo. Okay, the embryo which is being formed. You know, the sperm and the egg, they come together to form the zygote, which is a single cell structure. Now, the zygote will undergo division to form the embryo, and this embryo basically has to get implanted into the walls of the uterus, my dear children. So, this implantation is influenced by what? So, for the embryo to get implanted, if fertilization has happened, for the embryo to get implanted, you should be knowing that the endometrium layer should be really thick. The endometrium layer should be really thick, and who is responsible for maintaining that? I told you it is what? Progesterone. It is progesterone which was released by corpus luteum. Remember, there was graphene follicle which broke open, gave the secondary oocyte, Now the remaining thing is known as corpus luteum. Corpus luteum will be releasing progesterone, estrogen. They will be maintaining the endometrium. By chance fertilization has not happened, then it goes off. Then corpus luteum shuts down, okay, and hence level of progesterone gets less, and hence this particular thing also shuts off. Get it? So that is the most important thing that you have to remember. So it is the progesterone that will be influencing the implantation. Progesterone is for maintaining the endometrium layer, my dear children. Okay, 2017 question. Next, the inner cell mass of blastocyst becomes, what is blastocyst? So the zygote, when I say it is dividing and forming an embryo, embryo has different stages. Okay, embryo has different stages. You have morula, where you have 8 to 16 cells. When it is 8 to 16 cells, okay, you call it morula. Then they divide more, it becomes blastula, blastocyst. So in blastocyst, what is the thing is that there will be an outer layer like this, okay, and there will be an inner layer like this. Okay, the outer layer is known as trophoblast. The outer layer is known as trophoblast, and trophoblast, okay, will be the one that will be responsible for the formation of placenta. Listen to me very carefully. Initially you formed all this thing. The embryo is not directly coming and going to get implanted over here. There will be a stage of embryo which will be coming and getting implanted over here, and that stage is this stage, which is known as blastocyst stage, where you have 100 to 150, let's say, cells over here. Okay, blastocyst stage, they come and implant. What happens is that the outermost layer that you see goes into the endometrium. It will be slowly helping in the formation of the next structure, which is known as placenta, because endometrium would be able to provide the initial nourishment and everything, but you have to think for a longer run. You have to think for a longer run, and there should be something that should be solidly supporting the embryo growth, and that should be the placenta. So the trophoblast layer, which is the outermost layer, will be helping in the formation of placenta, and this particular cells that you see over here, you call it inner cell mass. Inner cell mass, and it will be helping in the formation of the embryo as well as the extra embryonic layer, as in there will be so many layers around the embryo. Okay, that is known as extra embryonic layer. So majorly it will be helping in the formation of extra embryonic layers, and also after a point it will be helping in the formation of embryo also. The embryo will be having this extra embryonic layer, so both of them probably. Okay, works. This is known as implantation, where blastocyst is coming over here and joining with the endometrium and things like that. Now, inner cell mass of the blastocyst become what? The extra embryonic membranes differentiated into the embryo, chorionic villi, placenta. The more correct option will be extra embryonic membranes, even though embryo differentiated into the embryo will also be correct, but it's already an embryo, right? It will be already an embryo. This stage is embryo, so how can you say that? So now this extra embryonic layers will be formed, and then later on you are forming the fetus with the help of this. Okay, extra embryonic layer, and then you are making the embryo grow into a fetus with the help of this. So I'll say this is the more correct option. Cool? I know it's confusing, but this is the answer. Next, pick the hormone which is not secreted by human placenta. I told you initially it's HCG, human gonadotropin, human placental lactogen, estrogen and progesterone. Prolactin is not a hormone released by the placenta. It is released by your pituitary gland. Okay, prolactin. It's also a pregnancy hormone, but it is not released by human placenta. Okay, prolactin helps in in the development of mammary glands and for ejection of milk and stuff like that, but it has nothing to do with the human placenta. Okay, next question. Choose the correct sequence events in the human reproduction. Okay, choose the correct. First thing, we need to form what? We need to form gametes. The gametes have to come together, which you call as fertilization. Now, fertilization has taken place. Okay, zygote is there. The zygote will be forming into an embryo. This embryo has to get implanted. After it gets implanted, it will undergo a whole process for 9 months. This is known as gestation, the period for the growth of the fetus, right? And then the baby will be moving out, which is known as parturition. So first we need gametogenesis, gametes formation. Second thing, these gametes have to fuse together, that is known as fertilization. Next thing, the zygote which is formed, it will form an embryo and later get implanted into the walls of the uterus, okay, and then later completes its cycle, that is 9 months or whatever animal it is, it will depending on it, it will be staying there for 9 to 12 months, okay, and then later the baby will be finally moving out. So this is the correct. We didn't have to go for the other options, just use your sense and just go with it, okay. But yeah, definitely you should be reading it. Over here I saw, while reading the question only, I saw this answer, so I was like, okay, let's answer it fast. Cool, works. Next, which one of these is not an accessory gland in male reproductive system? It's not an accessory gland. So children, we have 3 accessory glands in the case of male. Okay, the first gland is seminal vesicle. So seminal vesicle gives a secretion like this. Suppose you have vast difference coming, okay, you have vast difference coming over here. There will be secretion from seminal vesicle. Together they will be making a new duct over here, which is known as ejaculatory duct. Ejaculatory duct, which will be opening. Okay, suppose this is the urinary bladder. Okay, so this ejaculatory duct will be opening into urethra, which is the common passage for sperm and the what? Urine. Okay, in the case of males. So this is the first gland which gives out its secretion. Seminal vesicle is its name. The second gland that we are having over here, which surrounds this, in between, from, it's like a donut, in between this the things will be moving around, okay, the ducts and everything. So the next thing is prostate gland, and then you have 2 small bulb like gland over here, which is known as bulbourethral gland, or you also call it Cowper's gland. All of them have their own secretion. Seminal vesicle will be giving fructose to the sperm so that it provides energy. Prostate will be providing calcium and other clotting enzymes and stuff like that. Okay, calcium for fertilization, for helping better in fertilization and things like that. So everyone, and Cowper's gland for lubrication, so that the things could be moving on easily. So these are the glands which are providing secretion for the sperms. Okay, together when you say sperm plus this secretion, what do you call the secretion as together? You call it as seminal plasma. Please don't get confused between seminal vesicle and seminal plasma. All the secretions together you call it seminal plasma, and together both of them you call it semen. Okay, which is being released. So semen does not have just sperm but also the seminal plasma, which gives all the nourishment to the sperm also. Now Bartholin gland is not present in the case of males, my dear children. It is present in the case of females just outside the vagina. Just outside the vagina there are 2 glands which are known as Bartholin's gland, which also helps in lubrication. Okay, so this is the wrong option that you are having. Cool. Next question. In a human fetus, the limbs and the digits develop after. Tell me. In a human fetus, the limbs and the digits comes in the 2nd month. Comes in the 2nd month. Okay. So first month has 4 weeks. Next month will be having one more 4 weeks. 4 plus 4, 8 weeks. So can I say this is the answer? Yes. Okay. 2 months means 8 weeks. Got it? So this becomes the answer. In first month, heart. Second month, then this limbs and digits. In the 5th month, hair on the head and body movement. Okay, and then in the 6th month, eyelids separate, hair on the body and things like that. Please remember in the form of trimester also. So after the first trimester, you will be seeing all these things. But specifically, they have given 8 weeks, so why not go with 8 weeks? Cool. Next and the last question. During menstrual cycle, the cyclic changes takes place in. During the menstrual cycle, the cyclic changes, that is, in one cycle this will be formed, then next layer will be formed. Which is that layer that will be undergoing cyclic changes? Is it perimetrium, the outermost layer? Is it endometrium? Is it corpus luteum? Is it myometrium, the muscular layer? It will be endometrium, the glandular layer. This will be undergoing cyclic changes. Once it will be formed, then everything will be shutting down. Again it will be formed, again it will be shutting down. So this is a cyclic change that you can find in the menstrual cycle. And with this, we have completed the top 30 questions coming from this particular chapter. So I want you to practice all of them separately without my help. Okay, pause the video once more and start off and try to solve your questions. Okay, and if you have any doubt, my dear children, put it down in the comment section and tell me in the comment section whether you have completed the 2 other things, that is principles of inheritance and molecular basis of inheritance. Both of these things, if you have completed, do let me know. I want to say, and I am challenging you for that. If you are accepting that challenge, write there that I am accepting the challenge. Okay, so that's all, my dear little champions. If you think that this particular video was useful for you, do not forget to subscribe to the channel, and I wish you all the best. Do not be worried, everything is going to be really good. Bye bye, take care.